That old Beach Boys song, Bomberan.
Well, we finally got it. We finally got it done. Hey, everybody. I'm sure. Hey, KYP. Long time no see. I'm a little. I don't know. The British have a term, gobsmacked. I guess that might be it. But I'm left in a state of this is a momentous night, and we've got to side with our country and our troops, I guess. I saw on X when I was looking something up that one of those Twitter boys called me an anti-Semite or something like that. Well, it's not accurate, but we're all Zionists now. The United States is now fully in support of Israel's attack, or we were in support of it when it happened, on Iran. So the rights and wrongs of it don't matter anymore. It's where the reaction's going to be. And I hope he talked to Putin beforehand. I hope he possibly talked to Xi. I don't think this is going to be a one and done. I think this is much bigger than, I hate to say it, but it's much bigger than what Trump understands. I hate to say that because I always think of him as having the ability to play all angles of the board, but this is the end. I think today, if it wasn't last Thursday, the 12th, I think today will define yesterday, and tomorrow will be tomorrow. And obviously that you could say that about any day, but what I mean by that is the magnitude of the changes coming to our lives, and it's going to be permanent. I think there'll be time to make shifts, and my whole goal the reason I've been doing a lot of this, and I think we stumbled out of the gate pretty strongly, but hopefully each of us can make ourselves at least enough financially independent that we can get through the panic period or the difficult period. It might not just be panic. It might be war. It might be doing without and other things. So we can get to the new iteration of life as independent economic units. But guys and girls, this is truly frightening. What I understand, and I just talked to my brother who supports this 100%. I don't, so it puts us. But I like to hear what people think. The reaction to this could be devastating. My understanding is that the destruction in Israel, even though the press is all 6 companies, One is owned by Summer Redstone, who's dead. It's his children. He was born Rothstein. I don't know that it matters, but just so you know, his parents, Ukrainian and Hungary, but that part of Hungary is now Ukraine. So it may or may not matter, but the other five sources of news are basically controlled by BlackRock. Who's going to benefit from U.S. rebuilding Israel? I'm sure it's going to be BlackRock. This is a banker's war. We can get all caught up. People call me this and that. We can get caught up in it. There are always bankers' wars, but that's my opinion. I think this is because the London, New York banking system, to a lesser extent, Tokyo, but London, New York has run out of collateral. They've hypothecated and rehypothecated. They're even down playing in penny stocks because they've run out of collateral. They tried to hypothecate and rehypothecate homes. A friend of mine told me, we worked at Merrill Lynch together. He told me that they were actually creating a method on your computer so you could watch the value of your own home or your own apartment, your own condominium go up and down in the market. And the purpose of it was to turn all of that real estate into ETFs and into, you guessed it, derivatives. And but that didn't really work. I guess someone said no. But they've leveraged everything up to such an extent to keep this going. They're going to take us to war and debt. But they want Russia's resources. They want Iran's resources. They want the resources of the Middle East. And remember, they don't have to own it. It's just those countries just borrow from us, borrow from the UK, borrow from New York. And that's enough. Anyway, I'm really concerned this is going to turn into 1914. It's these kind of idiotic decisions. Oh, we can hit and run. It'll be over quickly. Where this isn't even that other president who was a functional idiot. I mean, I think he was smart, but his skills were his stepping stone to the presidency was the third most powerful position in Texas. And he launched the wars against Afghanistan, and I don't know I can't remember if we went back into Iraq. I just can't remember. The war on terror. And we couldn't do it then. We didn't get oil. We lost a lot of people. People who were injured came home. And Afghanistan has the world's largest copper resource. It belongs to China now. We put land-based aircraft carriers, airports in. They belong to China now. I don't know what the hell we're doing. I really don't. And we still believe that we have the power we had under George H.W. Bush. We don't even have a coalition of the willing. I don't know where, I'll read your comments because I don't know where to find the news. I don't see any news. Trump, and I'll play Trump's talk at 10 o'clock. Trump confirmed strike on Iran's nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. But I also understand that Iran came back and said, no, it was just Fordo. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. This makes me sick to my stomach. It really makes me sick. I think Trump believes that just dropping some bombs is going to do it. This is what he wrote on Truth Social. We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. I'm sure it didn't cause any radiological damage to the atmosphere, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. I'm sure they're going to respond that way. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's frightening. So they're the bunker buster bombs. They weigh 30,000 pounds. Trump will address the nation at 10 p.m. Israel was notified that we send Israel billions of dollars of aid every year, and then they send hundreds of millions back to bribe our Congress and our president. I will be giving an address to the nation at 10 p.m. regarding our very successful military operation in Iran. He didn't have my sister growing up with him to point out that you don't need the word very. This is an historic moment for the United States of America. Israel, thank God. Thank God we're there for Israel and the world. Iran must now agree to end this war. Wow. The first comment, we are so FUCKED. And then the next one, typical American crap. Iran, sorry to spoil your uranium enrichment party. Oh, Jesus, and then may Jesus Christ and his heavenly Father, God bless the USA. What's gone wrong? Iran may be different, but bombing and sanctioning into peace has never worked out for the United States. Name one country where it has. Neocons and profiteers have had their way with Trump. And then Elizabeth Icano, thank you, President Trump, for your strength, courage, and resilience and wisdom in facing a seemingly insurmountable challenge and succeeding for the sake of America and all humanity. What's wrong with us? I like this, Marie Patterson, still praying. Scott Altery, I regret voting for you. Jack Geertsma, we just completed a full test of our bunker busters. Best test so far. Jim Needham says that the Iranian extremists won't abandon their alliance with the Prince of Lies now. Wow, 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 wow. Linda Coleman, thank you, President Trump. Well played. You are a true leader, and I am so proud you are my president. God bless you and the United States of America. DS says one word, jerk. Retired Doc, why is Trump thanking me? I didn't have anything to do with it. Anyway, let's not read any more comments. That'll get me going. That's why I don't get on Twitter. Let me see what everybody's saying. Let's start with KYP. I hope you're well, KYP. I haven't heard from you. I got some feedback from the spaces that this whole MMTLP coalition, I guess, might be having a hard time with its forward movement. I'm going to try to work on that. Not that I can do anything, but I'm going to try to make a couple phone calls Monday, see what I can learn, see what I can do, see if there's some hope. Hey, Ted, middle ground. Yeah, praying for peace. That's all you can do is pray for peace. That's all you can do. It's the helplessness of it. I think this is the victor will write history, of course, but this is the corrupted U.S. financial system that has concentrated wealth in under the control of just a handful of men. You might count the owner of Fidelity. I don't think she has that much power. I'm talking about the concentration of assets, the State Streets, the Vanguards, the BlackRocks, and of course the Goldmans and the Citadels and the SACs. To keep that system going, to keep them being able to buy baseball teams and yachts and canals, we got to go to war. On the other side is the rest of the world. There is no one on the side of Israel except for the United States, maybe Germany. They gotta get over their guilt. Maybe France, maybe the UK, but the population, and maybe Canada, but the populations in these countries below 50, below 40, they're not on the side of Israel. So a bunch of boomers, because we had the luxury of growing up without paying attention to anything. Hey, did you see the game last night? Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, hey, you were trying. Hey, did you? I can't believe you were out with Leanne the other night. Wow. And then we go to the bar. We go, hey, let's go play golf. We don't give a crap about the rest of the world. Well, we're about to learn. We're about to learn a lot about the rest of the world. We're not going to have a choice. Let's see what the Daily Hate is saying. They hate Trump. Trump attacks Iran. Breaking news. U.S. bombs 3 nuclear sites in Iran as Trump hails very successful attack. The deadly stealth warplane took Iran's nuclear site off the table. Did it? Did it? The horrors of Dubai, where women are lured over and then subjected to the most degrading Tyrannosaurus Rex imaginable. I can't open that article. So then that's all they have on that. And let's see who's writing it. Nikki Schwab. Nikki Schwab is writing this. Trump will talk at 10 p.m. We have completed. I read that to you. I read that to you. Read that to you. So she didn't really write anything except to repeat. I could have done that. Prior to sending out his Truth Social post, Trump had arrived back in Washington after spending a little more than 24 hours at his Bedminster, New Jersey golf resort. He didn't speak to reporters. And the press called a lid. The White House called a lid. Trump made the decision, quote, based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future. That was the decision for 2 weeks. Now that looks like the art of war. Well, I would imagine that Tulsi will resign unless he's got proof. But, well, who's he going to send out? Secretary Powell? Here's the proof. U.S. launches strikes on Iran, joining forces with Israel days after Trump's Tehran warning. Good for Netanyahu. What a powerful man. U.S. drops 6 bunker buster bombs on Iran's Fordo nuclear plant. I'm sure it's not going to harm the soil or the water or the air or the birds or the other animals and plants around that plant. I'm sure it's just bomb it. Come on back to your golf game. Cohere, ordinary AI is good at writing essays. Cohere. Trump says Israel is much safer now after eliminating the Iran nuke sites. Well, you know what's interesting? I was listening to Alex, very intelligent man. He manages money. I think he's Greek, but he's not the same Alex you're thinking of. He traveled all around the world, spent time in Venezuela when he was younger, speaks several languages, very thoughtful man. And I think his last name begins with a P. Anyway, I'm sure he'll come on. But he pointed out that these new hypersonic missiles make nuclear weapons obsolete. So I don't know that Israel's safer. We'll see. We'll see. I have a feeling tonight I wouldn't want to be in Tel Aviv or at the airport or downtown tonight. I wouldn't want to be there. It's pretty frightening. Now, if the Iranians are calmer and then I take it for maybe they'll continue to attack or try to attack military sites. But guess what? Israel puts its Pentagon right next to a hospital. I understand they destroyed 57 hospitals in Gaza Strip, and they're upset. Look, war, truth is hard to fathom in war. And this war probably has already gone farther, or is it further? Or is it further? The war has gone further. It's gone farther than we want. In other words, there's no coming back. People are going to take their sides. The hapless European Union will line up behind us. The apparently a German recently, in recent history, last 20 or 30 years or so, what would you do? The chancellor was asked, what would you do if the British landed on your coast? He said, I'd arrest them, because they don't have an army. Maybe France does. So it'll be the United States and Israel against the world. It's not going to be good. I think Iran will attack. I don't know who. Will it be Qatar? Will it be Saudi Arabia? Will it be the UAE? I hope not. I hope not. But Jordan, maybe. Just I hope not. I hope not. But I think they're going to hold those countries accountable for helping the United States attack. And these nuclear sites, as I've tried to show you, could be just for civilian use. If I were any country in the world who wants to be independent of the United States and the UK, I'd be building a bomb. This is not good. This is the penalty we pay for having 80-year-old politicians. Unfortunately, our 50-year-old politicians, there aren't any good ones. So I think the torch is going to pass. Leadership is a funny thing. People in countries coalesce around leaders. It's not the United States anymore. We just took sides with the modern colonial, murderous state, white supremacist state of Israel. And it's not going to go good for us. Let's see if you guys have anything more positive than my initial take on it. Pete the Greek, hey Jeff, hey Ted, hey Chestnut. By the way, just to keep you up to date on Railtown, if I can read it, it's going to be really small. I think we're just under 80 people. I don't know, 77, 78, something like that. And our total, oh, this isn't it. Oh, it didn't communicate. Anyway, let me see if it updates. Yeah, now it updated. Okay, now it updated. We have, and there's about 9 people that I only have what they added. I don't have their original amount, or they just didn't give me a number. But the numbers that I've been given, we have 3,357,181 shares of Railtown in our group. So my guess is we're at 3.5 million, which is pretty good. Imagine if that goes to, if it went to $10, it'd be 35 million. If it went to $5, whatever half of 35 million is. Hey, account settings. Yeah, I think that's right, CJ Yukon. I think they're very dangerous, very dangerous. There's 4 years of people coming into the country that we know about, but it could have been going on before. Drones attacks can be anywhere. We have a lot of nuclear power plants that can be attacked and bombed by drone, and we don't have a way to. Now the war is different. It's asymmetrical now. And all we can do is pray. All we can do is pray. I'll be selling 500 G-bucks on Monday to buy Railtown. I didn't get prepared to talk about that, but I do think Railtown maybe Monday is the last chance. But somebody asked me, so what are you thinking? Is it going to be next week? I always kind of think 2 weeks, so it could be July. It could be July. But it really could be Monday or Tuesday. But we could be at war. It changes everything. I'm telling you guys, when they started World War I, they thought it'd be over very quickly. And I just hope Trump is talking with Putin. I don't know if he's talking with Xi. But if he's talking, there's a prayer. If they're not talking, we may have stepped in it. And guys, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. People are acting up in New York City now. What are they doing? Let me see if there's any news about that. All right, 5 minutes to Trump. So let's get RSVN.
Released by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu following the U.S. strikes on Iran nuclear facilities. The quote that I'm seeing here from AZ Intel: Trump and I said that peace will come from strength, first strength, then peace. That, according to Benjamin Netanyahu. So,
what an never mind.
Online right now, live at 9:55 Eastern Time. We are about 5 minutes from the president's speech, and we are live to cover it right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
I'll have it right here.
The other Truth Social post from President Trump, that happened at about 8:03 Eastern. So 13 minutes later, the president says, I will be giving an address to the nation at 10 p.m. at the White House regarding a very successful military operation in Iran. This
sounds so mission accomplished
to the United States of America, Israel, and the world. Iran must now agree to end this war. Thank you. That's the end quote from President Trump. That happened at 8:03. So, again, probably about 4.5 minutes now until we hear from the president live. And again, will he speak like other presidents have spoke when there's these kind of situations? There have been two places that I've seen that I remember. Of course, the Oval Office, looking directly into the camera, or from the East Room of the White House. And the interesting things about both rooms there, the East Room and the Oval Office. I've been to the East Room before when I was an intern at some other network back in the day. Have not been to the Oval Office yet. But the point is, what we've seen is the world leaders usually would have a press conference with the president in the East Room of the White House after they were in the Oval Office, where they sit down and the fireplace is behind them. But recently, what we've seen when world leaders visit President Trump is both leaders will sit there in front of the fireplace. That makes sense. Get some reporters around them and the staff from our country and the other country. And then the Q&A goes back and forth.
Fill up your gas tanks. Drive around with a full gas tank, not an empty one.
And the world leader that's visiting. What usually happened at the beginning of President Trump's administration was the world leader and the president would go to the East Room of the White House, and they would stand there at the podiums and have more of that kind of dialogue. So we've seen a bit of a difference with some of the way the president has been delivering various speeches or having a Q&A. So
all right, Ted, we can talk about stocks
in 3 minutes.
But if we can listen to Trump first, then we'll talk about stocks.
President Trump, let's go to
Ted, we can do. I understand.
Netanyahu from his speech.
Might as well get our mind off of it, right? Because anything we talk about isn't going to change anything.
They're saying it's about a minute and a half, so we have that time to do it. Let's go to the Israeli Prime Minister.
All right.
Congratulations, President Trump.
Oh, Lordy.
Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things.
Oh, yeah.
But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do.
Yeah.
History will record
Or would do.
that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime, the world's most dangerous weapons.
Which country
His
has
leadership today
attacked countries
has
in the
created a
Middle East?
pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
And war with Israel.
President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you.
Can I go?
The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
What's happening to 2.5 million people
The
in
leader
Gaza
of
Strip?
Israel within
Very
the past 2
civilized.
hours with that speech there from the Middle East. So now we heard from
August
Benjamin
is
Netanyahu. We'll now hear from President Trump in about
Well, he
a
could
minute
get his
from
big,
now.
beautiful
Guys, do
bill
we have
passed.
any of the a
And
live
that,
feed
you know, maybe
yet
that's
from the White House
little,
other than this shot here? Okay, so they're saying not yet. So that feed is coming
Sam
to
says
any
there
network,
are three
including ours.
sources
So they're monitoring
They'll
any
ban
live feed
short
that
selling,
pops
but
up.
you're the only one
As
that
soon as
doesn't
that
believe it.
happens, they'll go directly to it. I don't care if I'm in mid-sentence and they go to the president, because I'd rather hear from him than me right now, of course, as it's about a minute
already
away
is
from the
banned.
10 o'clock hour, the top of the
Let me
hour,
put my
Saturday,
stuff
June
down.
21st. And I started the broadcast by saying that this is the 24/7 news cycle kicking into high gear. This is going to be one of those things.
It's already
I'll be
banned.
monitoring
You're not supposed
and,
to collude
figuring out
or
what's
sell
next,
stock you
what
don't
will happen.
own or
Will there
lie
be
on your
retaliation
tickets.
from Iran? What will
But
be
they don't.
that
It's already banned. They
So I'm
just
not gonna
don't
get into
enforce it.
speculation. I don't have any live military guests on right now, any of that kind of thing. This is not a opinion editorial. This is the
If you
facts
want to
of what
read
happened today,
something,
and
get
we're
this
about to hear
book.
from the President of the United States.
Put you to sleep.
This will be, of course, live to the
Naked,
nation. This will be an address that the
short,
President
and
spoke about at
greedy.
8:03 Eastern,
But
saying specifically,
part
an address to the
of
nation
what goes
from
on
the
is
White House
legal.
regarding our
It's
very
totally
successful
legal.
military
Bill Clinton
operation
passed
Iran.
it
This
in
is a historic moment for the United States of
1994.
America, Israel, and the world.
And,
Iran has now agreed to end this war. Thank you. So we'll hear from the president.
We'll talk about it after
now.
the president, but it's called security
This is going to be,
entitlements.
again, not only the English language tonight, many languages across the world.
Jimmy Carter
this translation
let Iran
as
fall
people
before
are
they
going to
became
be,
as
this is one of those things where you see in those
Jews,
movies
Muslims, and
at Times
Christians
Square,
lived in peace. Yeah.
if someone
I think
knows
they
the
do
world leader's
to
speaking,
some
everybody stops
extent
and
now,
looks.
but there's
I
very
think that's one
few.
of those moments right now that we're about to witness here together. on
But
Right
we
Side
don't get a
Broadcasting Network.
clear
Again,
picture of
10
what's
Eastern.
going on in Iran.
Then now we know it's the East Room of the White House. Not
All right,
the
here we
Oval
go.
Office.
We'll
The
turn it
president
up.
will come out. As soon as we see those doors open way in the back, we will be taking it live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This speech is going
And
to be
Ted, I
something
agree with
played.
you. We'll get back to
I thought the soundbite from Carolyn Levitt the other
We'll
day
get back
about
to
the
talking
quote that
about-
President Trump talked about when it comes to that within 2 weeks will be the decision to go,
Bible
or not when it comes to Iran. We know that now has happened.
You might be
Again,
right.
the next question is what kind of retaliation will happen from Iran? Will there be a retaliation? I see something happening there. Let's go there live right now to the White House.
All right, here comes. Dun, 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 dun. I can't do this song.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I don't know what
The president's speech about.
I don't know what your reaction is to that, but it makes my stomach turn over. I hope he's read it correctly. Obviously, we hope he's doing the right thing. But I certainly, we've got to stand with our God bless Israel. What about Palestinians? 2.5 million Palestinians. Oh, that's right. They're brown. That's right. All right. Let's talk about the markets. We'll. That's good job, Eddie. I put you down. So we're definitely. I'm pretty sure we're at 3.5 million now. On broad markets, the extent depends on the war scope, duration, impact on oil supplies. Energy and defense stocks may be less affected. Definitely, you don't want to have a lot of debt against your stock. I don't think diversification is necessarily going to protect. That is a I'm trying to think of a word that's fair to Wall Street, but they talk about diversification, but it's still in the stock market. So if the market's going to have a correction, diversifying isn't going to really help. But I don't see the market correcting unless oil goes above $150. Then you got trouble with the market. if Iran now decides to hit 3 power plants or refineries in the Middle East or ports, oil could be $500. And this economy that we have taken for granted could be in trouble. But I imagine that President Trump talked with key leaders before he did this, so maybe it'll be contained. Maybe. I didn't like hearing what I just heard, because if Iran doesn't immediately say, we surrender, they're going to keep attacking. And why would Iran surrender? So Benjamin Netanyahu can lord all over them? That man is more corrupt than Al Capone. Al Capone is an honest man compared to him. Hedgie's going to drain the markets next week. I don't know what that means. It's a completely absurd statement. It means absolutely nothing. Where are they going to go? Where they're going to drain the markets? Where are they going to put them? In a bathtub? It doesn't make any sense. I did put you down, Ted, and thank you. I'll update the amount. I think next week could be a really good week for Railtown. But I have to say that we must admit, now that we're getting to the last week of June, that my idea, my sense, my theory that they wanted to get it done by the first half of the year, it could slide into July. That's all right. It'll be worth the wait. It'll be worth the wait. In my opinion, there's a lot going on we'll never be told. That's probably true. More than likely, the Uranium One deal sent uranium to Iran and North Korea. Well, come on. I mean, that was Hillary Clinton. You can trust her. You can trust her. All right, Nick, what's your question? You're going to ask me about Iran. Every president is elected, and Israel always said Iran has nukes. Wow. Yeah, Netanyahu's been playing from that song sheet since 1992. In 3 months, in 2 weeks, in this summer, he's been saying it, and they never have done it. My understanding is the negotiations that Iran was having, they were doing in good faith. It looks like we were the ones not doing it in good faith. It looks like both sides don't trust each other. But they were in the 6th round, and they had agreed. We don't want, it was a simple deal. We don't want nuclear, we don't want the bomb. We'll allow Russia to overlook us, and that's the deal. But we do want to enrich uranium for civilian use, like 3.5% or something. And then Netanyahu said to Trump, it's got to be 0%. So Trump said 0%. And they said no. Iran's not going to surrender. Iran's been around a lot longer than Christianity, probably longer than Judaism, if I pronounce that correctly, longer than Islam. It's been around longer than, possibly longer than the flood. I don't know. I never studied archaeology and all that, but Zoroastrianism comes out of Persia, and I just don't think they're gonna, with one bombing run, you don't think they've figured this is what the United States might do someday? I don't think they're going to surrender. And if anything, I think after all the bombing and the war, it might go on for 5 years, it might go on for 5 months. The world might end, who knows? But after it's all over with, Iran will make sure they have the bomb. They'll buy it. They'll buy the bomb from China in return for oil. They'll buy the bomb from North Korea. They will never be caught without a nuclear bomb again in their time frame. The United States is not to be trusted, and it's a shame. We're filled with a cult of neocons, and it's largely people whose grandparents and great grandparents suffered great tragedy in Russia and Eastern Europe. And I guess that's just the cycles of history. And we're going to back them up, so it doesn't help me to talk against it. The president's made the decision. We're going to back up Israel. We're going to back up the genocide. By the time this is over, the Gaza Strip will be cleared out, and we're going to try to decapitate, using that word. We're going to try to make the Middle East loyal to the financial system of the United States and London. And aligned against us is Russia, Iran, China. I don't know where South Africa will come down, but probably South Africa. Brazil, they're going to probably play it a little bit both ways, but they'll probably stick with the BRICS system. India, I'm almost certain, will stick with BRICS. And, so it's going to be the United States, Israel, a milquetoast Europe, and, Canada, but do they really count militarily anyway? Against the world. It's not a very good place to be, and we don't have the moral high ground. You may not be paying attention to the children and the women starving, not receiving humanitarian aid in Gaza Strip, but the rest of the world is, for sure. And the rest of the, anyway, let's just try to, God, it makes me frightened for our future here. The Spanish flu ended World War I. Yeah, my grandfather got that when and it was the flu, and it came back, or it went. I think it came out of the United States, out of Kentucky, or out of, was it New York? Anyway, our soldiers all being together on ships, and I think we might have brought it over there. I don't know. There's a lot of theories, but it went around the world, and the hospitals couldn't keep up with it. But I remember my grandfather had it, and they always thought that's why he got Parkinson's disease. But I saw in an article that Parkinson's disease in the United States, there's this place up north. It's several states where it's a zone, upstate New York, and that's where he lived all his life. So maybe that was it. New York they have. Let me see if there's anything going on this guy. All right. I think, I was just educating myself earlier on this woman, Cunningham, Sophie Cunningham, who stood up for Caitlin Clark. And I thought, wow, bravo, bravo. But man, who said women are less toxic than men? There's no, it might just be my YouTube habits, but there's no mainstream media. Oh, there's Fox Noise. I don't want to listen to Fox Noise. This woman, I forget her name, but she calls Lay. She says that Xi is being replaced. And the two people she's saying, I'm not going to play it. She's saying the two people taking the place of Xi are when and who. And on third base is tomorrow. I had to go visit my fish ponds. Wow. That's very interesting. I have a vision. I have a dream. I'm not going to give you my idea out over the internets, but I'm very much interested in this fishery business. What kind of fish are they? What would they be in Philippines? They would be, they're not bass or anything like that. They'd be the catfish or what's that one they have out of Hawaii that's not branzino, tilapia. Ted, that would be great. I think we can talk about Railtown just to take my mind off of what's happening. But I really do believe Railtown will, once they announce the completion of the acquisition or merger, nobody knows what the new price will be, and nobody knows if it'll happen just like that. I think it'll be basically two stages. One will be as soon as it's announced that the merger is done and dusted, as they might say in England. That will be full disclosure, so a lot of buyers can come in that have been precluded from buying. However, I think there's going to be certain large buyers, like retirement funds maybe, I don't know, I'm just choosing them as, depending on their articles of incorporation or their mandate, they may have to wait till the shareholder meeting before they invest. But think what that means. That means, if I'm right, of course, it all is if I'm right. That means that when they come in, they'll be paying more, probably. And that will become the new floor. Just making one up. Let's say OMERS, which is the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement Plan, or system. I guess that's the S, is system. 2 or 3 of the guys in AIP are from OMERS. So if, let's say, I don't know their parameters, but let's say OMERS can only buy after the shareholder meeting, and maybe they can only buy after $3 a share or after $5 a share. I don't know. But I think it's almost a certainty that Olmers knows about this and is going to be one of the buyers, because these guys were the president and the some other position at the fund. So I can see, as I'm saying it, there's room that the current group maybe says, no, we don't want to do it. I get it's not a perfect certainty, but let's say they have to wait for the vote and the stocks, I'm making it up, $5. Well, you're in here at 40 cents. They come in at $5, and I assume they're not coming in for 100,000 shares, which, by the way, I'm not making fun of 100. That's great. 100 is fantastic. I think 50,000 shares would allow anyone to retire, maybe. But what I mean, if they're coming in, they're probably going to put in, I would guess, they're going to try to buy a significant amount. Otherwise, why bother? Why put it on their employees to follow? So it becomes a floor. That's all I'm trying to say. If they come in and start buying at 3 or at 5 or whatever, and they therefore have a goal of higher, that kind of means, to my way of thinking, the stock's not coming back to 40 cents again, unless, you know, the whole world falls apart, or if we'll have plenty of notice that you know, that Numu alien space machine showed up, and they're going to sell us a artificial intelligence from the planet of Zod, and it's much better than ours. You know, I think we'll have time to see. U.S. begins war with Iran. Bill Clinton exposes real reason behind war with Iran. That sounds like the National Enquirer. Here's Shah, Crown Prince. He looks just like his father. U.S. Air Force prepares to attack Iran. What happened to the 10 lost tribes of Israel? I don't know. Why did that show up? McGregor, 16 minutes ago. The world has never witnessed anything this dangerous. It's only 14 minutes. Let me just see what he says.
And we are about to join it, because I think President.
This is old. This isn't new. Rachel Maddow was crying on TV. Which side of issues is she on? Here's a picture. See, this is a problem of AI. Here's a picture. Tel Aviv state of emergency. Iran launches most powerful missile attack. But then they have 2 skyscrapers collapsing with fire. That's not real. I don't think that's real. Well, anyway, so my point is, Ted, I think it's going to be 10x on your when they finish the merger. I think by the time by 3 things. One is when they announce it. I think that'll bring in some buying. Secondly, as it goes up certain price levels, like $1, $2, $3, 4, 5, 6, that'll bring in other buyers. $2 in the United States mostly is where in many companies marginability comes in. $1, I understand, is a threshold for some of the smaller venture capital firms, but we'll find out. So anyway, number one is they make the announcement. Number two is as they achieve each of these stair-step prices, I think it brings in other buyers. And number three, the shareholder meeting, which is 40 days away from whenever they do that announcement, approximately. So I think it could happen very quickly, but I would certainly say by the 40 days being up, it's a 10x or better from here. And what gets me excited for your 100,000 shares, if you get there, is once the it's announced, they do that stair step up, and then the shareholder meeting is successful. Remember, 53% of the shares are held by the guys putting this proposal together, guys and girls. So I don't know how to summarize that, but if you have 100,000 shares and it goes to $5 and it stays there, it's not like a short squeeze play where it's ginning up and it starts to run and then it's overwhelmed by what the criminals can come up with, which we've seen over and over again. This time, I think it's a different kind of bear. I'm looking at some, I don't know how they get it because it's banned, but I'm looking at some cameras over Tel Aviv, and it looks like morning is there. And thankfully, there's no bombing. I'd feel more confident without Trump in charge. Who, you want Kamala Harris? You want Jolton Joe? I don't know. Who do you want to be in charge? Kamala? Newsom? What are our choices? I think of most of our choices, he's probably... Look, what Trump can now say to the Israeli lobby, I did what you asked, and now I'm not going in again. But, I'm dreaming. I think he's going to go full on to war against Iran, just like the Bushes, just like the Wolfowitzes and the Kagans and the Newlands and the Clinton, the Hillary anyway, Obama. We're all the same. We're linked to Israel. It's like a big iron weight on our ankle. We're going to go to the bottom with them. But hey, Benjamin Franklin said, it's a republic, madam, if you can keep it. Well, we had it for what, 270 years, 50 years? Yeah, and we had a nice run. Now we can make sure Israel can build out to greater Israel, because Abraham promised the Zionists, some of whom don't even believe in God, that Jews, whatever that exactly means, get everything from the Nile all the way to the Euphrates and deep down into Saudi Arabia. So we'll be there to support Israel as they build out greater Israel. But we'll accuse other countries of being the threat to peace. Israel's not a threat to peace, not Israel. Israel, who attacks every neighbor, invades every neighbor, they're not a threat to peace. No. It's Iran. Iran hasn't attacked anyone since. I'm not even sure they started the Iran-Iraq war. USA. Account settings trying to get to 102. I think these are good numbers. Remember, there's two sides of the trade. If you get to 100, that feels good. But if you don't quite get there, just remember, I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to sell this. It might be that we decide, let's just hang on. But did I show you the, let me see if I can find it for you. Well, I better be careful. I'll do it as I go down because I'll lose these comments. The short squeeze report is now up to 40 million shares. So it's possible, even though I never thought this stock is a short squeeze story, it's possible there'll be a short squeeze in Railtown if it keeps going. And I was trying to figure out what it would be worth. You know, what price would you sell? Because, and I guess I'll just quickly do a little bit of. Thank God there's no bombing going on in Tel Aviv, so that's good. It looks like Iran is subdued. So at least that part of peace is happening. It actually looks like a peaceful morning. But if you assume that once the deal is completed, that they, it's 165 companies as part of AI Partners. They're doing 400 million in revenue, pretty good source on that. Using the 80-20 rule, that's about 320 million in revenue from 33, 34 companies. So if you assume, and I don't have any way of knowing, that part of the delay was making sure they get most of that either under option or acquired, so they come out of the gate strong so the criminals can't destroy. Remember, that's all the criminals try to do, is no matter how good the news is, they make the per share value of that news nothing. And so I think these guys are smart enough to know they've got to come out big enough that it doesn't matter what the criminals do. And they don't need their money. They don't need to go to Wall Street for that money. But anyway, if you go with 320 million as revenue and you ignore conductor, Lang tracks, rail tracks, shredder, whatever it is, and the that video screen product they announced. If you ignore all of that and the two other arrangements that they announced as well, just focus on the 400 million revenue of the 165 companies in AI Partners, and then assume that 80% of that revenue comes from 20% of the companies, and then assume that the guys putting this together and women putting this together are going to try to lock up the 20% of companies that have 80% of the revenue before they announce the deal in some fashion, whether it's an outright acquisition or a option to buy or an agreement to buy. So if we can assume they're going to get 320 million under their umbrella by the end of the year, they can say we have annualized revenue of 320 million. Then you've got to just decide what multiple to use. And I think 25 is a good one because the average is 26 in the more mature. The most mature, it's down around 12 or 15. But that's the value creation curve, as I keep trying to show you. So 320 million times 25, that would give a value of 8 billion. And they're probably at 140 million shares now, maybe a little more. Let's assume they add 20%, so that would be 28 million shares. Let's just call it 30 million shares. So 170 million. We'll divide by 100. Let's divide by 175 million shares. That's $45.71. And the only thing I would caution is I don't know how they're going to get these deals done. When I look at Constellation Software, it only has 20 million shares outstanding. I don't know the mechanism they use. Do they do partnerships, overrides, split revenue, something like that? So on the 320 million in revenue times 25, 8 billion divided by that gives 45. I think what I would do is go back through and I would make it, I don't know what number, 50-50, since we don't know better. So I would call this 160 million. And call it 4 billion value. And call this, I don't know what let's just do it by calculator. 2286. So if it makes sense, they might acquire all these companies and do it in a way that they split the revenue 50-50 with the current shareholders or owners of the companies. I don't know. We'll find out. But to be conservative, maybe cut it all in half. And you come down to $22, $23 a share. So the question comes, what if it squeezes a little bit? They say they have 40 million shares short and a squeeze trigger. What if? I don't know. I've never thought this is a short squeeze play, but what if it goes to something high? Maybe it goes to 10 or 15, or maybe it goes to 30 or 40, or maybe it's one of the ones that we're amazed at and it goes much, much higher. So the question I have, and I don't have an answer right now, is if it went to $22 a share, $23 a share, would you sell it? I don't have an answer yet. You know, would you sell it if let's say it started squeezing and it went there? Would you sell it? Because then you're hoping that it would pull back so you could get back in. And we don't have enough information to make the decision now. But I would look at it based on the numbers I just gave and think, you know, that might be a reasonable value for the company at the end of the year, $22. So do I want to take the risk of selling it, hoping to buy back in if it pulls back? But what if it doesn't pull back? Now, another way to ask that question, and I'm making these numbers up. I'm not predicting this at all. It's just looking at all scenarios. What if the stock went to 75? Well, then that's so extreme. Then yes, I would think you would sell, hoping for it to pull back. But in my mind, this might be what that company ends up being worth as we get more information on its way higher. So we might, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be I don't know if it'll be a fun problem to have, but it'll be a challenging one. We might get a discount on Monday. Yes, you might. Where could I find out news on that? Let me see if Yahoo Finance has news. U.S. attacks 3 main nuclear sites. GOP senators want to change the tax breaks. Here. Trump strikes on Iran leave oil market poised for a surge. I think that's true. I think Iran's going to attack. I think oil's headed to $500 a barrel, and our lives are completely changed. I think it's fantasy to believe, and I don't know if it's Trump's fault. I think it's the neocons to believe that Iran is just going to roll over like Syria or Gaza Strip or Lebanon or Jordan. Oil's going much, much higher, and you're going to be waiting in gasoline lines, and inflation's back, and at least as it relates to energy. And you guys, this isn't launching attacks at Saddam Hussein. We don't have troops to go in. We don't have tanks, jeeps, a coalition of the willing. We don't have any of that. We have Israel, who's a good bully. Israel's a bunch of bullies. They're a cult. They're a cult of people that think they're special and everyone else is an animal around them. And that's the side we chose. Why PayPal stock is a screaming buy. It doesn't say anything about the markets, but there's a gentleman I used to subscribe to, and I will again when I recover from my temporary setbacks, Dr. Stephen Lieb. He has a index, I guess, based on oil. Anyway, one of his concerns is if oil goes above a number. Now, it's been years since I subscribed to his letter. So I don't know what that crossing point is now, but it used to be around $150, 140. And as oil gets up to that level, the stock market crashes. And that you could see that if it's sustained at that level, maybe we don't get the rally that I was calling for. We'll have to let this is one of these how do you say that? Douche ex machina type events. And we got to reset our projections. If Monday markets have a big drop, many will panic and sell at a loss. Well, that's the definition of a drop. I don't think the market's going to panic down Monday based solely on what we've just heard. It's what comes next. And it's possible what comes next will be benign. But if Iran attacks, we have 40,000 soldiers in the Middle East, at least. We have many bases. And we have aircraft carriers, which I don't know if the distance of the hypersonic missiles, the ballistic missiles that Iran has could reach, but hopefully not. But Russia certainly could show us what for by taking out the Eisenhower or the Ronald Reagan and several of the support ships. And that will change our guys and girls, our financial lives are going to change for the rest of your life, for the rest of my life. But it's all right. We'll still be we'll still be able to make decisions as long as we make the right ones. You're going to want to own physical gold. I don't think it's going to be smart to be in debt. I mean, there'll be some question about mortgage debt. But that'll be a battle with the banks. The banks will want mortgage debt to carry over into the new system. The government, if it's taken over by AOC or FDR, will want people to keep their houses. That'll be the battle. But all the other debt just keeps you in slavery. So that's one thing to work on. Owning physical silver, platinum maybe, gold maybe, but silver's the one that's it's already too late. I've been calling for silver now for 2-3 years. I've been telling people to invest in it for a lot longer. I've been waiting for some money with some investors, and we're going to miss out. Silver will open above 60. And it's just too bad. It's just too bad. Hey, Steve, I just put you're lucky to have kids 7 and 5. That's awesome. Well, Steve, you're one of the most what's the word? Anyway, it's not that I can't think of a word. You're seizing the bit on this rail town. I think it's the right thing to do. But I would suggest to you there's going to be 2 or 3 complexities to your decision. Of course, you have so much of it that you could sell, eventually just sell 5 or 10% of it and live off that. That's just 5 or 10% of your holdings is big enough for the rest of us. But a couple of things. One is obviously you're going to want to wait for the long-term capital gains. Doesn't always make sense. I mean, if it short squeezes, doesn't mean, you gotta, that's a counteracting variable. But if you put that in the mix by waiting for the long-term capital gains, I think you're in your 401k, so it doesn't matter. But for other people, it may be the company is sold by then. I don't know. These startup companies with new technology, they go get their customers and then the big boys buy them out. That's our markets now, because the investment banks just focus on transactions with the trillion-dollar companies. It's a really interesting thing that's happened in the United States. We've become oligarchs, an oligarchy, if not an outright monopoly. I would argue that Amazon has a monopoly. Anyway, that's one. Two is, if you can stand it as you wait for the long-term gains, not to change your life. Just now, I'm hoping once it's up, we can sell calls, buy puts, we can protect, bring in some income. But if you can just, in your case, you're going to have so much money, ostensibly anyway, that I don't want what happens to people that win the lottery. Just don't tell people about it. Don't change your life. Keep it as is for a year or so. So you start accepting, hey, I'm this, but I'm not a guy that spends it. And anyway, that's one thing. I guess that's the main things I want to say. I think you're 47 and you want to retire. I don't know. You're going to be so rich. You're not going to need advice from me. But I would try to make it to 50 anyway, and not change your lifestyle as you study things like, I don't know, I'm having a bad experience with a trust right now. I don't know about trusts, but you might. I'm not. You got to see a lawyer. How do you put it aside? So if something bad happens, your kids and your wife are protected. But if you want it to last into their adulthood, how do you set it up so that if your younger son marries, an inappropriate woman and then gets divorced, that the assets can stay with your family and she gets, $1 million or something. Anyway, I would take some time to study your options and all of that. And I'll talk about other things that you can do later, but let's move on. It is tilapia and milkfish. I don't know what a milkfish is. It is tilapia. Yeah. Those are the ones, the big chains have. Milkfish. I have to look up milkfish. I don't even like fish, but I'm married to one. Oh no, a Filipina. I thought it said a flipper. A Filipina. I don't even like fish. I think that's great. I wonder, do they grow offshore or in, you said ponds, but is it in a big net offshore, or I guess it's in ponds? It's her business, my money. Well, at least she didn't start a salon for fingernails, Happy wife, happy life. Yeah. Happy wife, happy life. I notice when I start to liking people, they're not around very long. I notice when you start disliking people, they're not around very long neither. Steve, I was in the U.S. Air Force. I had no idea we're such a world bully. I pray for forgiveness. I knew not what I was doing. Well, I think the U.S. Armed Forces and, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, the Army, Coast Guard. I mean, it's amazing how many good people, they're all good. It's just such a great force. It's just, and we all grow up believing what we're told. And I was naive most of my life, but the lifestyle we lead is at the tip of the sword. It really is. On the other hand, Steve, you did a lot of good. I think the world was better for the U.S. military. I think the world was better for the last, 80 years, 85 years because of the United States. We didn't have terrible world wars. We had, at least in the rest of the world, we had a lot of economic growth for everybody, peace. And I think women have advanced. I think education has advanced. But man, some of the things our companies do, ruining the food supply, ruining our soil. Some of it's just so depressing, chasing the dollar. It's better for a son to look like his father than his mother. Well, it depends on the mother, I suppose. And the father. But I would say that you're right in almost all cases, that it would be better for the son to, in most respects, look like his father. But if his mother's beautiful, it can help him get ahead in life. Big Trump supporter and let down tonight. I hope he acted on solid. Well, that gets right to it. He says that Tulsi was wrong, and Tulsi says her words were misquoted. And then Netanyahu has been crying wolf for 3 decades. So maybe Netanyahu's correct finally. I don't believe it. But I on the other hand, I don't think Trump would lie about it. I think if he knew differently, he would have told us. So we'll find out. He says totally obliterated. U.S. bombs 3 nuclear sites in Iran. So they used 6 bunker buster bombs and 30 tomahawks. God, Netanyahu's so lucky. He starts a fight he can't win. And He's rescued. He's rescued by Trump. Hmm. But, when you have political power, which a lot of Israeli-leaning people do, Zionists do, Christian Zionists as well, you use it. Sorry, not financial advice. Place your bids as you wish. The Iranian regime, killer of innocent women and children, loves William Farron. Let's pray for the people of Iran, not its horrible government. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say, Hawkeye. I don't know. I'm not trying to defend terrorism. I'm not trying to defend a regime. But I think Israel's attack, Israel started the war. And I think their attack on Iran brought everybody together in Iran and around the world against Israel. Israel is a regime. Israel is a murder. There's a cult. Not everybody, but the people in charge. The numbers you hear are 60, 80,000 Palestinians killed. But the numbers are probably far greater than that. Hundreds of thousands. There's an Israeli soldier who posted on his social media that he's killed through the head 6 children. And he's proud of it. He's going to shoot more of them. He's proud of it. Children. The Israelis bring people, they tell them to leave their apartments, they get under a big tent and they bomb the tent. And right now, the Israelis, and it's happening right now while Netanyahu distracts us, the murderous Nazi that he is, he's making sure that women and children, innocent women and children, are dying and starving, don't have access to water, don't have access to food, air conditioning, a place to sleep, books, TV. So I don't have an irrational hatred of Palestinians, or for that matter, Iranians, like you do. Now you're going to cover it with, let's pray for the people. I'd rather pray that God changes your heart so you see that you're caught up in a white supremacist. It's supremacy. Your approach is colonialism. And it's inexcusable. So you're saying that the Iranian regime loves me? What the hell does that mean? What is the Iranian regime? You just throw out words so that we'll come in and join in your murder? You're the regime. If you align yourself with Netanyahu, you're the regime. But thank you for your comment, Hawkeye. My wife says you need to visit the Philippines. Plenty of pretty women there. I'd love to, Ted. I hope we. There was a guy that used to come on my calls out of Texas. I haven't heard from him in 2 years, year and a half. When I stop doing these videos, I hope I can stay in touch with people. I wouldn't mind visiting the Philippines and yeah, it would be nice if your wife. I would imagine any place you go, you have to have somebody there to run interference for you. G Diddy. All right. All right. All right. All right. G Diddy. G Diddy. G Diddy. I'm writing it down. G Diddy. Wow. Wow. That will, G Diddy, just looking at this will get us, that's 200 today. So let me just look where we were. Yeah. You know what, G Diddy? Not only did we surpass 3 million, I think we're almost at 3.6. We're certainly past 3.5 million shares of Railtown. How's that? How's that? That's pretty exciting. So we'll have that to focus on while while the world crashes around us. The U.S. has more blood on their hands than Iran. Yeah. I don't know what happened with the Iranian war. I'd have to go study it. But I do know that we deposed the Shah. And then we didn't depose him. Sorry, we deposed somebody else in, and we put the Shah's father in Iran. And then the hostage situation came. That's when the Khomeini went back. And that destroyed Jimmy Carter's presidency. It'd be funny. The two presidents that I think have been quite remarkable might both be destroyed by Iran. But I don't know much about Persia. Was it Cyrus? But I think the Persian Empire, way back when, I think they certainly probably had a lot of blood on their hands as they conquered. But in modern times, I really can't think of what country has Iran invaded. What country has Iran bombed? Now, Iran has helped, that other jerk's going to point out, Hamas and Hezbollah. But we and Netanyahu created one of those to destabilize the government of the PLO or whatever. It's so confusing. But anyway, we and Netanyahu created one of them. Yeah, maybe that's the source of weapons. I don't know. But what weapons do we give? Look at all the weapons we just left in Afghanistan. Look at the weapons we gave to the Medahajin. to fight the Soviets. And then, hey, look, I have to agree with you. The United States, war is our main export. War, 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 and more war, and more war. What we just did today and what we did with Israel 2 weeks ago, where Israel's attacking residential areas, killing women and children, innocent women and children. But it's okay because they're chosen and God promised them that they could have greater Israel. Come on. Come on. I don't buy the Zionist bullshit. I don't know if you remember, but based on your NIF-related amount, I bought 100. Oh, good for you. Wow. Wow. Gee, Diddy, you have 220 pounds of silver. You should move to the Philippines. There's going to be a lot of women that want to be around you. That's awesome, G Diddy. I wish I had that much. Sir, what is the best strategy to sell a large position? Let's say if I sell all my 100,000 shares, do you think the order will go through? Yeah, I think it will. I don't think you need to do it now, but I'll tell you account settings, how I think it's going to go. Hopefully this is money you don't need next month, but if it is, that's fine. I'm not a diamond hand, guys. I'm not telling you to hold on through thick and thin. I'm just not that. I'm just not that guy. So you can sell anytime you want. They're not going to go down easy. Anyway, what I think, account settings, I'll just tell you how I see it, and let's go through it as the days and weeks evolve. But I think Railtown, my target now is $4. It was $3.50. $4 in the revaluation. It could go $5, $6, $7. I don't know, and it could certainly go higher. We'll find out. I don't think you should sell if you can not do it. If you can hold off. I don't know I can't give you financial advice, so I don't know your own situ. But if you can hold it, I wouldn't sell all the way up to that 4, 5, 6, 7. I wouldn't sell in any of those ranges. If you're trying to trade and you think you're good at that, do it. But I wouldn't take the risk. Railtown is going to go to a new price, but it's going to go to the new price to start what I think will be a march higher. And I mean, just we don't have enough information. So, but I want to tell you reasonably, if the company does get, there's 400 million in that revenue in AIP, and it's growing, and they're going to bring on other companies. Let's say, to allow for, I don't know how they're going to split the revenue or do it. Let's just say they get 150 million out of there, leaving the end of the year. And then there's the two companies that Railtown has just announced. They seem to be engaged that way. I don't know what could each of those do on an annualized basis. $1 million a month, 10 million each. Yeah, let's go with that. And then they have five products. They have five unique saleable AI products. I think they're going to be their first mover. They address big markets. On the website, the market's expected to be 140 billion. Now, there's a smaller market as well, so I don't know how much of that. But on the research report that I've read to you, which we can pull up again if I can find it, last year, before the AI partners, they were saying, the research analysts said that the addressable market was 3 billion and that they could get a significant or material portion of that. Well, 3 billion, what's significant? What's material? 10% of it? That's 300 million. Let's say 5% of that. That's 150 million. So 300 million in revenue. I'll show it to you, but 150 million from the 400 million at AIP, 150 million net, just it's an assumption. And out of the 3 billion that the research report said a year ago that they're going to get a material portion of, or looking at a different way, they have 5 or 6 different items. We'll call it 150 million annualized. That's 300 million. What's a material part of 3 billion? 5%? Seems kind of puny. So call it 300 million, and we'll multiply it by 50x. And then divide that by, I'll say 175 million shares. And you get $85 a share. You get $85 a share. I think the top number is probably conservative. And I think both numbers are conservative. The 50x, believe it or not, I think is conservative, because I think the multiples in this next flurry of acquisitions are going to be 100 to 150 times. But if you want to say, let's do 25x, you can cut this in half and say it's $40 a share. So that's what I'm trying to get through to you, account settings, is this is not like these other stocks we've done. I don't believe it's going to go up and you're going to then watch all the value wither away. I think it's going to go up, and like one of those ratchet machines where you're trying to pull something closer or lift something, each time you pull it into the next tooth, the tooth catches, and then it's not going to fall back, and then it starts to climb again. That's what I think it's going to be here. And so I don't want you to sell at $4. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't, and I'm not saying you shouldn't use your own sense of money management. And at any time, you can take money off the table or all of it. But I just want you to know that I think the stock has a lot higher to go, a lot higher to go. We don't have all the information. And rather, I'm just doodling basically, but I think reasonably. But as the knowledge comes and the press release, just because you make 10x, let's say in the next 2 weeks, maybe it takes 4 weeks, maybe it takes 6 weeks, maybe it takes 8 weeks, but let's just say it happened in 2 weeks. Just because you made 10x, you don't have to have a hot hand to take that off the table. The 10x is where it's going to start. My thesis is the stock is mispriced right now. And it's all because it's been in almost 5 months of a quiet period. So let's see. We'll get more information. We'll have better ideas then. But to answer your question, if you were to sell it, it's like any other stock. If you sell it while everyone else is selling, or while the shorts try to attack it downward, you're going to affect the price of the stock because you're getting out when everybody else is selling. But I think you could sell 100,000 shares on Monday without really changing the price very much. If it gets up to $1, I think there'll be buyers by smaller funds where the dollar number is significant. I think if the deal is announced as closed, there will be buyers from all over the place that have been waiting for the requirement that the company and the bankers fully disclose what the hell's going on before any of the insiders can buy. When that happens, I think the stock's going to go to $2, $3, $4. At $2, you can get margin buying, which I don't recommend. But for those of you who know how to do it, you can do that. But at $2, you might get other funds coming in. At $3, $4, $5, I think there will be institutional interest. There will be possibly interest from family offices at that level. As they come in, as each of these come in, they're not going to come in for 100,000 shares. They're probably not going to come in for 1 million shares. Maybe, but it might be, 1 million shares at 3 is significant depending on the fund. But they may be trying to build a position of 5 million shares. My point is, you're not going to have a hard time selling this stock once it's taken over by the professionals. Once it becomes a professional market, you're not going to have any problem selling your stock, in my judgment. And then once it's a bigger price, let's say it's $40 a share, we can start looking at ways, and there's people, you can hire people to do this. I've done it in my own account. It's not hard. But if you want someone that has spreadsheets and uses formulas through a computer, you can go get those guys to do it. But you can start selling calls against your position. There's risks, but there's income that comes in. But more importantly, you can buy puts. So that if you're nervous that, you want to hold on, it's $40, and I'd like to think that it could go to 80 or 100, but I'm nervous it could pull back. You can buy puts. We're not there yet, but there are things you can do. But absolutely, I don't know if they're going to do a reverse. I wouldn't do one, but they might. I have a feeling this company will be on the New York Stock Exchange before you can say who's going to be the Democratic nominee next time. We just handed the next election to the Democrats, which is incredible to me. It's just incredible to me. But anyway, God. Well, hopefully he can still make decisions that get us out of this. Anyway, I think it'll be on the New York Stock Exchange. I can't imagine where else it would go. It could go, stay in Canada, but I don't think this company's going to stay in Canada. It could go on the NASDAQ, but why? Just to be slaughtered? She's completely incompetent. NASDAQ is just there to slaughter shareholders. The American, go over to Europe? Nah. Maybe go to the Hong Kong or the Shanghai or the London, maybe. I think there's only one exchange in the world that this company's going to end up, but there's only one logical exchange. That's the New York Stock Exchange. And I don't think 100,000 shares is not going to be a big position. I hope they keep 150 million shares out there, but my guess is if they go on the New York Stock Exchange, they might reduce it. But remember, a lot of those companies, when they get up there, they like to subdivide their shares so that people can buy them, like a NVIDIA. So it's not baked in the cake that they're going to do a reverse. So let's assume they just stay with 150 million shares outstanding and they start trading on the New York at 85, 40, 35, whatever the hell, dollars a share. You're going to be able to get out of it all day long. And you won't even be a big part of the volume. You're not going to have a problem with it. But if you can, let's not get antsy about selling it until we start seeing more news, start following it, start seeing research, start seeing what happens when big boys and girls and institutions come in. But you can do whatever you want. If you feel uncomfortable waiting and your experience is that you bought GTII at $2 and it went to $9 and you should have sold it, you can let that experience color your ownership here. But this is not GTII. This is not ZJYL, GDC, VOCL, CRTD, MMAT. It's not, although I liked MMAT. But the difference here is these guys are not going to do a deal. Their board will not let them do a deal with the criminals. They're not going to do it. And they don't need to. Stop sticking up for Trump. It was his fault also. AIPAC made sure of that. Well, there's no doubt AIPAC made sure of that. The only thing, there's two things that work in Trump's favor. One is if the enrichment really was at 90% and they were just a few weeks away from credible, even a dirty bomb would be a risk. Secondly, their own rhetoric, their own threats, and apparently their spending, although I would argue Saudi Arabia supports more terrorism in the world than Iran. But look, I'm not in the CIA. I don't believe the CIA. I don't believe my own government anymore. I don't believe my own press anymore. What a horrible thing. It used to be there was some integrity in it. I'd rather believe what Pravda says than what the Jeffrey Bezos owned and CIA beholden Bezos says, Washington Post says. But it is true that for a long time, Iran has been saying that America is Satan and Israel is little Satan and death too and all that. So in Trump's favor, there's that stuff that is what happens when people start to get into a fight. But I think recently Iran was negotiating in good faith, and Russia was willing to oversee. And I think people, not the United States, not Netanyahu, but I think people had confirmed that Iran did not have weapons grade uranium. I personally have made the argument. I think Iran was making nuclear power so they can sell their oil. But I don't think Iran's going to go to a vassal state under Israel or under the vicissitudes of the United States government. No, this war is going to continue now, and they'll have nuclear weapons at the end. I do think you're right that I hope not, but I think with this one action, perhaps without realizing it, he destroyed his legacy. He destroyed the Republican Party. He destroyed the United States standing in the world. And the world's going to set about creating a new financial system without us. And they have all the youth. They have all the resources. They have the English language if that's the one they want to use. They have technology. They have the programmers. That's what happened today. So we know where history changed. History changed today. Now I think that makes it important for all of us, like this gentleman G Diddy. Is that who it is? Yeah, G Diddy. Tone silver, tone miners, and I think Railtown is going to be one of the ways we can create a chunk of money to do something with. But ironically, Railtown might go much higher. It might be, and I say might, it might be over 18 months, it might be 100x. That's a big number. I'd be happy with a lot less than that. But it also may be a stock, going back to the other gentleman, where you don't ever have to sell. It may be that, if you look on their website, they have Microsoft, NVIDIA, AMD, and there's another famous one, then some others that I've never heard of, that are all their partners. All of those guys become buyers of Railtown. So let's say a NVIDIA came in and bought Railtown. It would be stock, and you wouldn't make a decision. All that would happen is one morning, stock would be exchanged, and you'd end up having stock in NVIDIA. Well, then you might decide to sell, or you might decide to hold on. I don't know. Yeah, AIPAC gave money to Trump, but so did Edelson's widow, Miriam Edelson, I think her name is. She and her husband have given him $600 million. It's a lot of squid. His buddy is Larry Fink, and Larry Fink's parents, I think, also are Eastern European or grandparents. And so, they've got a score to settle. But that's BlackRock. They control the media, what the story we hear. But he bought Panama Canal for Trump. He was sitting in the Middle East next to Trump. Kushner is his son-in-law with the brilliant, dastardly idea of turning Gaza Strip into the Riviera. They're not after that, although that certainly would make a lot of Israelis rich. That's not what they're after. That's not what they're after in Syria. They're not after security in Syria. They're after the oil in Syria. They're after the oil. You don't have to believe anything they say other than they're acquiring resources, they're acquiring land. Israel is after oil and gas. That's what Israel's after. And Trump supports it. Trump is his grandchildren are Jewish. I don't know why Democrats didn't support him. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He appointed a Zionist as ambassador, Huckabee. Donald Trump is in bed with the criminal Netanyahu. Absolutely in bed with him. So for those of us who voted for Trump, the United States is going to go down with Israel. And we'll have a bunch of wimps as our allies. But the world, the industrial engine of the world is not in the United States anymore. It's not in Europe anymore. The cultural standing of the world, maybe a little bit, but most of the world is communicating with TikTok and Instagram and other things. And they've already made the decision that Trump's going on with Netanyahu. Most of the world is siding with Iran in this and the Palestinians. No, it does not look good. This is a devastating decision on the part of Trump, and it looks like he's going to back it up because Iran is not going to surrender. So Trump has to go back in, and we don't have the bombs, we don't have the military, we don't have the jeeps, we don't have the missiles. We're as an empire, it started under George W. Bush, an immature imbecile who had to show up his father. They went mano a mano on their front lawn when he was a young man, and he had to show his father that he was a better president. Anyway, we're just going that way. It has to happen because people can't project. They have to experience it. The privileged position that the US dollar is held in the world is not going to go away overnight, but it'll accelerate. The auto industry will belong to China, airliners, China. I don't think people want to speak Chinese, but a lot of people do. Putin's granddaughter speaks perfect Chinese. Jimmy Rogers' grandchildren speak Chinese. But I think the world will still speak English, so at least we have that. But it's gonna be a multi-generational time frame for us to get back. We'll never rule the world again. It's going to be losses now. We're just going to have losses after losses after losses. And it doesn't mean our life can't be good. It's just that's what's going to happen. Our aircraft carriers are of a different time. And I don't know if we're going to be stupid enough to put our aircraft carriers close enough, but Iran will take if our aircraft carriers are within, what is it, 2,000 kilometers of those missiles, they may have some that go further. They will take out one of our carrier groups with a hypersonic missile. And yes, it's Trump's fault. It is Trump's fault. He took credit for working with Netanyahu. I think Iran and the United States were close to a deal. And I think that bully, that criminal, attacked to make sure there was no deal. And I think Trump had to save face. Hey, I'm the guy, and I think. And he said to Zelensky, you don't have the cards? Well, Trump just bluffed the world with a pair of deuces. Israel and our weak inventory of bombs and material that we don't even have a hypersonic missile. And we don't have the troops that'll fight. So he's bluffing the world with a pair of twos. We'll see how the flop goes, but I'm not optimistic. And you're right. I'm trying to protect Trump a bit because he's been correct many times in the past. People doubt him and he turns out to be correct. But I think this is an enormous mistake. And this really is the dividing line between the American dream and the rest of time. I think it'll be I've been saying this for years anyway, but I think it'll be the Russian dream. And that's about it. I think it's going to be tough in China. It's very competitive and their population may be in trouble. Water is a problem. The Middle East is hot. And the oil's not going to last forever. But it's going to be destabilized. Israel's finished as a country. Absolutely finished as a country. It's like the riots when Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy were killed, destroyed inner cities, and families fled. It wasn't necessarily the men that made that decision. It's the women that make the decision. It's not safe. I want my children out of here. So that set up, 30 years before people started moving back in. That's what's going to happen to Israel. The women are going to leave. They're going to go back to Brooklyn. They'll go back to Miami and New Jersey, parts of Arizona and California. That's what's going to happen. And maybe Australia. Israel's finished, and we're deciding to support a Zionist movement, which I'm not sure it was a particularly religious thing anyway. But makes me sick. The more I talk about it, the more ill I feel. Well, please don't start using the terminologies that we've heard before. I don't want that. I'm not trying to give you life-changing, and this is going to happen overnight. Railtown, I think you should plan. It's up to you. If you want to just take the 10x that I'm projecting over, I think it could happen next week, but it also could take 8 weeks. You know, it's a relatively short period of time either way. If you want that 10x, take it. But I'm not talking about life-changing money in that context. Hey, this is going to go. This is blah, blah, blah. I don't want all that emotionalism. This stock, yes, it will change your life if you hold it. But we have a lot to learn as we go. So right now, it's a thesis. And as things are announced, research reports, deals are announced, bankers come in, we can start adding to the base of our thesis and make more accurate projections. But I don't want people, you're more than welcome to trade it short run. You're more than welcome. I just think if you hop out, you're not gonna get back in. Now, I don't know where that number is, and I don't mean to say I do. I'm saying $4. Could it start at a lower? I doubt it. If I'm wrong, I think it'll be a higher number. But can it go to $4 in one day, or does it need 8 weeks? I don't know that answer. We'll learn it. But I do think it won't be 40 cents overnight. It'll be $1 or $2. So to build the position is now. But please don't bring in the I don't want you thinking with your emotions on this investment. It's going to be life-changing. Oh, here it goes. I better get. I don't want any of that. It may take 18 months. It may take 24 months to become a New York stock type price stock. But it could take, Constellation Software took 19 years, but I think a more fair time frame was maybe a decade, maybe 12 years, because they had to get their methodology nailed down. But Constellation Software was acquiring software companies, tired, highly fragmented, a completely unsexy business model where oftentimes the multiples 1 times revenue, 2 times revenue, 4 times revenue, and low growth. But their genius was they could bring these companies into this mothership and leave the mom and pops in charge. And I don't know their mechanism, but let's say they just split the revenues 50-50. They cleaned it up, did some of the enhancements. I don't know. I really don't know. But Constellation Software went from $1 to $5,000 a share. And account settings, that is life-changing. But I don't want that hyper energy in the stock. I don't want that, because then you're going to sell. Like I just said, there might be a time when the stock because of this wrong, it doesn't say Ronk on it, but it looks like a Ronk report. It doesn't even say buyins.net, it says something else. But this short squeeze report of 40 million shares, which I'll show you the one I saw. If it does have a short squeeze, do you sell then? And those are going to be tough questions, because account settings, I could be wrong on my $4 number. It could be repriced at $15. I can make a case it should be repriced at $25. I don't know, but once you go higher up the numbers, obviously the probability goes down. We don't have enough information. All I'm telling you, this is a stock that's in the AI space. AI 2.0 is in its infancy. The AI 2.0 is apparently going to be worth $15.7 trillion in revenue in 2030, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers. 15.7 trillion. Yes, it's life-changing. But I'm not using those words. I'm not saying, oh, it's going to do the. I'm not using any of those words, because I don't want you in this emotional high, because that's when you make mistakes. And that's when people can take advantage of you. So I just like to look at it as more of a, right now, look, I understand right now, everything's been up and then back down. That's pretty much the story. Everything's up and back down with a thud. So I know that's the pattern and the human experience. We replay that. But I don't think that's this. And I'd just like to see if you can make the transition in your mind without emotions from the idea that this is a penny stock, which is what it is right now, that it's going to become a multi-dollar stock, and it's going to come off of the pink sheets, come off of the OTC, skip Adina Friedman's abattoir, and go directly to an institutional exchange where institutions who have trading desks, who have research analysts, who do due diligence and know what the hell they're talking about, will be buying the stock against anybody shorting it. And then there's real price discovery. I just hope you can hold on and not be in your weakest part of yourself, which is your emotions, unless you're talking to your wife, and rather could be in your rational part. I don't disagree with your perception that this will be life-changing. I think it will, but I don't use that word, and I don't want all that rah rah rah. I really don't want that. This is not a Genius Brands. This is my fight against the shorts, and I'm here to rescue you. And then he does the deal, because he's just part of it. It's just part of it. Yeah, I know. It's hard to choose between two weevils. And I guess, Jim, I'm not trying to, I know where I come down right now, but I'm not trying to make that choice myself. What I'm trying to point out is the rest of the world has already made the choice. They've made their choice between the two weevils. And in fact, the two weevils now to the rest of the world are the United States of America and Israel. So at least we have that. They'll never be able to accuse the United States of being anti-Zionist or anti-Semitic. We opened our arms in the United States, and as people came out of Europe with this horror, they were embraced in the United States, and they were able to make themselves wealthy, educated, part of society, elites, and now they're going to take us down with them in this experiment called Israel. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. We're not going in. We have no troops. We have no troops. I have not been in debt since 2022. No mortgage, car payments, or credit card. You're the best, Jim. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I think, Alan, the only country that can make it World War III is the United States of America, maybe Israel. I don't think Russia wants World War III. I don't think China wants World War III. I don't think Iran wants World War III. So we're going to go down like a spoiled brat. But what Trump just did today is solidify. Putin is not dumb, and he's not a dictator either. I think he's a lawyer, but he also studied resources. And he understands what happened to the ruble in the late 90s by the banks. He understands what the oligarchs, the 8 men that came in, did. And they're going to create a new financial system, and it's going to be accelerated. And Trump's going to be embarrassed when he goes to be part of the creation of a new world financial system. The United States is going to have, I don't know if we'll have a minor role, but we'll just be in there with the Europeans, the Canadians, and the Australians. It's a sad thing. He could have been brilliant by making a different choice, but instead we're going to just torpedo our empire. We've got a good economy, so we still have that strength, but it's based on consumerism and our banking system, which is all about creating money out of thin air, creating more and more debt, and you need more and more collateral. You need more continents to capture, more beavers to slaughter, more oysters to harvest, more soil to destroy, more natives to kill, more silver to take and bring home. That's the whole model. And that's the one that Israel is currently continuing, the colonial model. And Putin doesn't want that. Iran doesn't want that. The Prince of Saudi Arabia doesn't want that. India doesn't want it. China doesn't want it. Brazil doesn't want it. It's over. So I don't think there's going to be World War III unless we start it. And all we don't have hypersonic missiles. All we have is nuclear. And Israel has the Samson, he pulled down the temple. It's not a good. We chose It's a horrible decision. Hey, John. I use horse manure at my tree farm. Wow. I don't even know what it means to have 150 cubic. I don't know what it means for value, but I guess it's a lot. The fish are in big ponds inland. Ah, so they're saltwater ponds. Ah, there's a big river around our land. That's pretty cool. Israelis were behind the Bolshevik Revolution. I don't know. I studied that. That's pretty confusing. The revolution happened, and then they sent Lenin in by train. And it might have been the Zionists. Obviously, it was the communists. Yeah. I don't know that the Israelis did it. But it was the whites and the greens. And if I remember, the Bolsheviks took over the radio station and a couple of key communication posts. And it was brutal. Yeah, I have a book over there. It's a summary. I've read about it. It's just so hard to remember all of the details. But yeah, Lenin was sent across, I think from Switzerland, but it might have been from somewhere else, hidden in a train. And there's no question in my mind that the banks of the time wanted destabilized Russia, destabilized government, and destabilized population. I bought the Persian rug in 2006. It is OTC. Railtown AI is OTC. Right now, you can't buy it at Vanguard. I don't think Vanguard's much of a brokerage firm. They may be an execution platform, but they're more of a fund company. But maybe it changed. Yeah. I think our sovereignty is over. We could get it back if we were just honest, but we're not honest anymore. Hey, I am almost legend. The Anunnaki. Yeah, you were reading my mind. I often think that what's going on in the world is explained by the Anunnaki returning. And some people say that that sun is behind our sun. They don't know if it's a planet or if it's a twin sun. So it's a little solar system. But they came here for gold, and they did apparently a lot of other things that had to do with us. But it would explain our fascination with gold, and that we store it all in a few places, and maybe they're going to come take it. But there's a lot of us too, and maybe they want fewer of us here when they land. They apparently, if you know the story of Gilgamesh, or even the old biblical heroes, protagonists, they apparently lived a lot longer than we do. And Zecharia Sitchin said it had something to do with the orbit of their, I don't know why this makes sense, but he said it repeatedly. Their orbit around the sun takes 3,200 years or something like that. So 1 year to them is, anyway, I guess it's just all the confusion of the theory of relativity, but they live a long time compared to us. Yeah, I think about that sometimes, that these behaviors going around the world might be something related to that return. And maybe some of the elites that run our world have that knowledge. I don't know. Apparently, according to Catherine Austin Fitts, the Pentagon is missing either 17 or 27 trillion dollars. And she believes that they spent a lot of that building underground caverns where all of the rich and the beautiful and the important can go live when life on Earth above ground becomes impossible. I don't know. It's too much. It's too much to process. I'd like to see that Pentagon audio link. I'll try to find that. I'd like to see that. I hope so. I hope so. I've always looked at peace as temporary. Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. You're right. It's not peaceful. It's not peaceful. That's a good point. I was at a party years ago in I think it was in London. It might have been in Spain, but I think it was in London. And I was with some Spanish women, a friend of mine and her friends. And she had this one friend, very, very beautiful smoker, which is not my favorite. But we were talking, and of course, I only have one language. And I don't know if it was she or it was her friend was a veterinarian. I think it was her friend. And her friend made the point, similar to yours, that only the human being is violent. And I said, what do you mean? I mean, tigers kill hyenas. She said, yeah, but it's in the context of protecting their territory or protecting their family. It's only human beings that are violent for violence sake. Animals don't have it. Humans have this capacity for hatred. Anyway, I'm not making her point very clear because I guess I don't remember it all. But she said animals don't have it, what's in us. It's interesting. It's interesting. Never has there been a peaceful time because that's not who we are. And it's ego. It's ego. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, it's yeah, that's a big subject. I could get off talking about things that would be all about religion and everything, which I don't know anything about, which is about domination. Ego is a domination, power over others. Yep. So we dehumanize them, which allows us to do any and everything to other human beings once we don't see them as equals. Yes, exactly. And we've done it. We've done it. That's why we slaughtered the buffalo, because it would exterminate the Indians. Can you believe that? It's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah, you're right. Another rant that I didn't mind it at all. I thought that was a very yeah. Is there ever peace? It's a very good point. No, I'm not account settings. I'm not upset with you, and I was using it to get my point across. I'm not. You don't have to say you're sorry. Um, you don't have to say you're sorry. Yeah, yeah. Red pepper. I couldn't agree more. Let me just show you something. Account settings on, which is why there could be a difficult decision to make. Um, so it's trying to upload. Let me see. I might sign off here. All right, there it is. So there's the coming back to the comments. So account settings, the total, if you go to the top of this line, it says June 16th. It shows the short volume for Railtown. So it's 40 million shares and the squeeze is 34 cents. So if there is a squeeze, we're going to have a decision to make. But I don't want it to be a short squeeze story. I guess that's what I was reacting to. I think it's bigger than that, and I think it's just by chance, and it could really give you a meaningful asset. So, and I wasn't. You don't have to apologize to me, account settings. I certainly wasn't trying to jump on you. Here's a question. An article by Mona Hojat Ansari. How many coffins will Trump send home for the sake of Israel? She has a point. She has a point. Let's see what they're saying in Russia. Iran accuses United States of nuclear treaty violation. Trump threatens Iran with more strikes. This asshole Netanyahu. Taiwan's a goner too. Taiwan's a goner. Oh gosh. All right, I'll go to 12:30. I'll just see if there's anything in the news. I appreciate you guys helping me through this. I'm so disheartened. President Trump warns Iran, any retaliation will be met with force far greater. So do we have new weapons to test out? Or is it going to be nukes? From Truth Social, any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than was witnessed tonight. So in other words, we can attack you, but if you attack us, I personally don't think Iran has much of anything left to retaliate with. I don't agree with that. I think they have plenty. Oh, it's sickening. But if we're going to win against the rest of the world, I guess he did what he had to do. The good news is they're not bombing Tel Aviv. There's no bombing going on in Tel Aviv, so that's good. U.S. bombs Iran. Putin, Xi vow revenge. I didn't see that. U.S. military on high alert. Now this is saying, it's CNN, saying that Iran strikes Tel Aviv live, shattered. I don't know if that's accurate.
You give Palestinian rights, you establish a state of Palestine, you stop the Israeli slaughter of Palestinians, you stop the Israeli apartheid state. Israel is dead set against that. The entire Israeli political governance now is dead set against that. Hundreds of thousands of illegal settlers in the West Bank are dead set against that. Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, Gallant, Netanyahu are dead set against that. So my view is it has nothing to do with what Israel wants. It has to do with enforcement of international law. So I want to see this imposed, not because Israel agrees to it, but because it is imposed. And there is one country that stands in the way of imposing this, not Iran, not the Saudis, not Egypt, not Russia, not China, not any country in the European Union, one country and one country alone. And that is because of the United States of America. And Israel lobby, that's what stops the solution that could bring peace. So my own solution to this.
It's Jeffrey Sachs, and if you don't know him, he's Jewish.
This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc.
Another self-hating Jew. Bernie Sanders. Oh, gosh. I wish he hadn't done that. But it shows you that we really are dominated by our banking system. And I guess it's the source of our wealth. So anyway, I don't know if I can make it another 7 minutes, 8 minutes. I don't have that much to say. Well, wow. I didn't know we got a big storm. And I'm here. Let's see if Martin Armstrong wrote anything. Not really. Who else would even write anything? Maybe Al. You can call me Al. U.S. bombs Iran nuclear sites, including Fordo. Iran says U.S. attack will have everlasting consequences. Aid seekers in Gaza continue to be targeted as Israelis' attacks kill 26.
With that they shouldn't have a state. But you don't want a disaster either. And Mr. Netanyahu has long wanted to fight Iran because that way he can stay in office forever and ever. I mean, he's been there most of the last 20 years. But I think we should be trying to diffuse it. And I hope President Trump will do that. I hope anybody there will do that. We've got to stop. We got to convince our friends in the Middle East that we'll stand with them and try to protect them. But choosing undeclared wars in which the primary victims are civilians who are not politically involved one way or the other, just want to live decent lives, is not a very good solution. Do I think that we have to try to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon? I do. I tried at that, and we had some success. But we don't have to have all this outright, constant killing of civilians who can't defend themselves and they just want a chance to live. First of all, they're not talking about negotiating peace in the Middle East because the Israelis have no intention of, under President and Prime Minister Netanyahu, of giving the Palestinians a state. And now they're too divided and crushed to organize themselves to achieve it. So when President Trump apparently agrees with that they shouldn't have a state. But you don't want a disaster either. And Mr. Netanyahu has long wanted to fight Iran because that way he can stay in office forever and ever. I mean, he's been there most of the last 20 years. But I think we should be trying to diffuse it. And I hope President Trump will do that. I hope anybody there will do that. We've got to stop. We got to convince our friends in the Middle East that we'll stand with them and try to protect them. But choosing undeclared wars in which the primary victims are civilians who are not politically involved one way or the other and just want to live decent lives is not a very good solution. Do I think that we have to try to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon? I do. I tried at that, and we had some success. But we don't have to have all this outright, constant killing of civilians who can't defend themselves and they just want a chance to live.
All right, I'm going to vote for him again. All right, one more minute. I already made it, almost made it. One more minute. One more minute. I want to see what Iran is saying. Oh gosh, every U.S. citizen a target. Oh God. This doesn't look good. Well, let's try to enjoy one more night. We had a pretty good run, our generation. We had a pretty good run. We need more love, less hate. Yeah, all we need is love. Do, 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 do. Yeah, I agree with you. We need more love. It's tough. That's what they invented alcohol. It's my own proof of God's existence. Somebody has to love all of us. Because human beings, I agree with, I'm almost legend. Human beings have a tough time loving each other. It's difficult. It is difficult. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Let's pray for peace. Let's pray for the people of the Middle East, including those in Israel. And I don't know what to say about Trump. I don't know what he can do. This is one of those fateful choices you can't recover from. And well, he had a choice to make and he made it. So let's see if we can recover from it quickly and have peace. Thank you for signing in. I might go on about Railtown tomorrow, or I might not. Might just wait for Monday morning. I'll have, if I do come on, I'll have more prepared about Railtown and other topics. But tonight it was just a shock to see this. So here's what Bernie Sanders said. Listen to the
Let me conclude. This is a statement from Donald Trump. Quote, we have completed our very successful attack on the three nuclear sites in Iran.
We don't need to hear it again. All right, I'm going to say good night. Thanks for joining. Peace to each of you. Peace in the Middle East. Peace around the world. And let's pray for intervention of love. Let's pray for the intervention of love.